Okay, this is something a little bit interesting. This is a video uploaded to YouTube advising citizens what to do if CSIS comes knocking at your door. It's a man and a lady, and so they approach this residence. So this middle-aged man, it looks like, or youngish man, is cooking. He lets the CSIS agents in. He looks a little confused. He's a little surprised to see them. Maybe he's Middle Eastern-ish. I think he could look just like Mediterranean even, or South Asian. So they go through a bunch of scenarios asking him different kinds of questions that are quite personal, and he doesn't know what to say, the citizen. And the agents are kind of, they continue to press with their questions, and you see text come up on the screen with the organization that uploaded the video, advising people not to answer and instead to do X, Y, or Z.
Merci, bonsoir.
The whole point of the video is to get citizens to feel like they're empowered, that to know what their rights are. I did go to a job fair once at McGill where CSIS representatives had a table, and they saw that I'd done Islamic studies and I studied Arabic, and I'm South Asian, of South Asian heritage, and they encouraged me to apply to work for them as an intelligence officer. I don't feel like that would be, to be an intelligence officer would be a natural role for me. I think there would be a lot of Muslims that would consider me working for CSIS to be a betrayal of the community, to be like spying. You know, spying is actually considered like immoral in Islam. I think the portrayal of Muslims in the Canadian media is pretty diverse. I think there are unfortunately too many Muslims in the community who like to blame the media for everything, and don't actually speak to the media and have very little interaction with the media. I think the negative coverage that I've seen of Muslims in the media, I guess the most famous example for a lot of people is the Toronto 18 about 5 years ago. That kind of coverage was really disheartening and frustrating. Some versions of the story suggest that they were upset about Canada's role in Afghanistan, and some of them wanted to send a message about that. There was a lot of frustration and anger about the economic exploitation of people in Muslim-majority countries that some of the members of the Toronto 18 were from. Now, all of the 18 were not charged. Some of the charges were dropped, some of the charges were stayed, and others, including at least one of the Toronto 18, was sentenced to life in prison. People are innocent before proven guilty. I mean, that's a basic principle. And yet the way the coverage was, it seemed to just treat the allegations as facts. Yeah, I mean, to me, the coverage looked like it was turning the whole process into a circus because it was a spectacle. And very little was understood about why it happened. And to this day, most people, if you talk to them, what were the Toronto 18, you'd hear them described. You know, people would be familiar with who they were. And that's from the sensationalism of the reporting.
We are totally against a publication ban. We call it a publication scam.
But in terms of asking people then, what happened to them? What are we doing to prevent things like that happening again? Most people would just be like shrugging their shoulders, confused, like, well, I don't know, and I don't blame them. From my interaction with Muslim youth across the country, I would strongly contend that radicalism is not on the rise necessarily. I think radicalism is there. Some people treat it like a fad. It's a fashion, it's a phase, it's something that, you know, they dress the part and try to talk the part. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to become a violent radical. Seriously? Terrorism. I guess what am I supposed to say about terrorism? What am I supposed to think about terrorism that, you know, millions of Canadians wouldn't agree about? If people are sitting around kind of expecting me to say, oh, terrorism is bad, like, what else do you expect me to say? I think terrorism is something that we have reduced or essentialized into, you know, what vigilantes do or small groups of people do. But I think an even more serious challenge that we have to face together as Canadians, as modern people, is the challenge of state-sponsored terrorism when states, when elected officials command militaries to terrorize people all across the world and affect their lives in negative ways. So, I mean, I would want to start with terrorism there before we start to address terrorism on an individual vigilante level.